When I first got into personal development and reading books and watching videos on YouTube, I started trying to implement all of these new things into my life. I started, trying to build a new morning routine. I tried to meditate 2 times a day. I started eating healthier. I started intermittent fasting. I started, scheduling in work time, then scheduling in play time, and then, all of these different things I started building onto my life. And they were, it's not to say that any of these were bad. I still implement a lot of this today, but it didn't make room for life to happen. And when I was too rigid in my planning, it became quite stressful, because when the inevitable change that life would bring would happen, it would really disrupt me, because all of these rigid, disciplined things I'd brought into my life, I wasn't doing. So I would get stressed about the fact that I'd missed things, or I'd miss things multiple days in a row, and the weight of all of this structure that I'd built and having to be always in discipline mode meant that sometimes I'd just collapse and all of the things in my life would fall away that I'd been working so hard to create. So it clearly wasn't getting the best out of me all of the time. Sometimes it felt really good to be in that really disciplined space. But it didn't always work. And when it didn't work, it would be a disaster. And on the flip side of that, I'm also quite into spirituality. And so I've read about and looked at videos again and done courses on things around like surrender and being present. But when I took that to its extreme as well, surrendering and letting life come to you, that also didn't work for me. I think we all probably know someone in our lives that is in deep surrender and just taking what comes their way, just taking what life brings to them. But it's quite a chaotic way to live. And there's certain things that if you're in deep, deep surrender, you then are not able to achieve or do in your life that are really healthy. Like, I wouldn't be able to film these videos right now if I didn't have some level of discipline, because I don't always feel like it every single week. And I wouldn't be able to, have the exercise routine that I want. I wouldn't be able to eat healthily. I wouldn't be able to do so many things that allow me to live a good, healthy, vibrant life if I didn't have this discipline side of things. Jason Silva talks about finding flow in life in between discipline and surrender, like a Venn diagram where discipline and surrender intersect and flow is in the middle. And I think it's so true. Like, having too much discipline is over-controlling, is stressful, because you're not allowing life to come into that. It's too structured, and we also don't know what's always best for us. Sometimes the things in life that get us exactly where we want to be cannot be thought of in advance, or completely surprise us of where we end up. So too much discipline, too much structure is oppressive. And on the other side, too much surrender is chaotic. There's certain things in our life that requires a certain level of maintenance, exercise, habits, even working hard towards something. If you want to bring something into creation, bring something into the world, use your gifts to practice your gifts so that they are honed and you're able to be at your best and be able to be of service to people. That requires a level of discipline to be able to put in the work to get to that point. So finding that intersection, that place between surrender and discipline, is a really powerful place. And it's talked about in many different respects. Jordan Peterson talks about it in a certain way when he talks about order and chaos and finding that balance in between. Or even when I speak to my coaching clients, I talk about balancing masculine and feminine energies. Masculine energy allows you to sort of create the container, create the structures, the focus, the goal orientations that we can work inside of. And then once we have that really strong masculine container, the feminine energy of the openness and the surrender and the creativity and flexibility then has a really powerful container to work inside of. Whereas without the structure, without the discipline, without the masculinity, that surrender or that creativity, that flexibility, that feminine energy has too much space to work inside of is then dispelled and, not being able to be utilized in an effective way. It takes positive action to get us to where we want to be. But on the way to where we want to be, things are never going to go as planned. And when we get off track, when things inevitably happen and change happens, being able to surrender and accept what life is bringing us as potentially to our benefit is a powerful thing. When things don't go as planned, if we have the ability to, instead of getting upset and thinking this is the worst thing in the world and it's not gone how you want and that goal now won't be able to come to fruition because of this change that's happened that we can't control, how can we ask ourselves a couple questions to reframe that and think about how this could be to our benefit? How could this door closing open another door? How could this experience build me up to be able to be a stronger, leader or person in the future now that I've overcome this? How could this be a learning experience? I mention this a lot, but being able to ride the wave or ride the current of life towards our destination is the key. And when the winds change or when we get dumped by that wave that we're on, being able to accept that that's okay, being able to look for a new wave and expect that maybe this was the wave I was supposed to be on, and even appreciate what's happened to us. The places where people end up in life are often not where they expected. But having a goal, having structures, having discipline, having the things pushing us towards where we want to go are important in moving us forward and growing. But being able to flow and change and adapt is also so important as well. So where do you think you sit along that spectrum? Each of us probably has a place that we sit along that, and having awareness to know where you need to bring more discipline into your life or bring more surrender into your life is important. I personally probably need to bring a little bit more discipline in. I'm pretty good at being able to accept life and, see the positives from things happening and just be able to move and adapt with the current. But bringing in more discipline to allow myself to really push forward strongly is, going to be able to benefit me really, really powerfully. So knowing where you sit along that spectrum allows you to tweak and change to get to where you want to get. So that's all I had today this week, guys. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.